Hello, I believe this is lecture 23. And we have just entered the contract theory in the previous lecture, and we are going to continue. Today's topic is everybody knows that what contract is. It's like formal form of promises between individuals. However, why do we need contract law? Yeah, people promise each other to do something. Okay? To the nephew, I'll send you a trip around the world. Thank you, uncle. That's what the example we have looked at in the previous lecture. Then, once again, why the government has a law on that? And as usual, I'm going to explain that with a simple example. Here, I would mention one of the game theory's famous example, marriage game. It's more like male and female, so it's old example. So I hope nobody get offended. It's like let's assume that like our grandfather and mother generation, people would get married and have a baby and things like that. Okay, it was an old example, made in old times. Okay, so there is male and female. It can be a human, it can be animal, but anyway, as long as there's a female and male, it goes as follows. The female can choose to be single, never get married, and never have a baby, child. On the other hand, female can get married to, of course, male. Then the male has a choice. So whether marry or not is the choice of female in this game, because the automatic assumption in this game is male want to get married to this female and female is not so sure. So if she's not sure at all, she's not stay gonna be single. But if she think, oh, this male looks fine, then she can get married to this male. After marriage, the male can support the family or run away. And the assumption here is when female and male get married, probably they will have a child or children. So the male, if male support the female compared the situation, stay single. The first number is female's number, second number is male's number, and it represents the happiness. So the female happiness is -10, male happiness is -10. This is assumption that if they don't get married, they are free, but somehow they feel lonely. Probably that's why human beings are getting married. They don't want to get lonely. Excuse me. And when they get married and male faithfully support the family and female, their satisfaction level increased to 10 and 10. So the stay single, both male and female, negative and -10, they get married, 10 and 10. What is important in this assumption is both female and male get happier than before by getting married. So if you look at just these two numbers, there is no reason not to get married to female and male. However, there is another possibility. Female get married to this male and they have a baby, and the female assumed that no male would support the baby and her, but male sometimes run away. He may find another young girl and run away. Then the female would be extremely unhappy, not only compared to the happy marriage, but also compared to the state that she is single. Now, she has the whole burden on her shoulder, not only her, to raise the children without the male. Well, it's cruel, but this game, by the way, this game is not made by me, some biologist, and the male would get happy. Surprisingly, this kind of male behavior happens a lot, not only among human beings, but also in the natural world, even between animals. So, if you are female in this game, are you gonna get married to male or not? The answer, game theory-wise, the female shouldn't get married. Why? She may hope to, the wishful thinking that she can get 10, but once she gets married, from male's point of view, if he supports the family, 10. If he run away, then with another girl, it's 30. So you can be pretty sure the male would run away. So the logical thinking says, female, if you get married to this male, you will hardly get to the 10. You will probably get to negative 50. So are you going to choose negative 50 or 10? Of course, the answer is 10. Negative 10. Negative 10 may not be good, but certainly much better than negative 50. Okay? So, the logical conclusion in this game is, after thinking all that, the female is not going to get married. Okay? Here, I want to, probably many of you already knew this concept, but I want to review this concept, which is Pareto optimal. In order to define Pareto optimal, you have to know Pareto improvement first. Pareto improvement is some members of the group get strictly better than before, while no one gets worse. This is example. There are 3 members who get $10, $10, $10, and in new situation, it's going to be $10, $11, $12. The second and third person get better than before, 10 and 10. The first person, however, remains same. This is Pareto improvement. What if it's instead of 10, 11, 11, 11? Then everybody gets better. That's also Pareto improvement. So either everybody gets strictly better than before, or nobody gets worse, some people get better. That's Pareto improvement. On the other hand, if it's 10, 10, 10, and it's 9, 100, 100, as a whole, the second and third person gets really better, but the first person gets from 10 to 9, the first person gets worse. Then this change from the left side and right side, we don't call that Pareto improvement. So Pareto improvement, the first condition, nobody gets worse. The second condition, somebody gets better. Okay? So do you think, is there anybody in this world who think Pareto improvement is not good? Yeah, maybe some people would say that because, they think the equality is good or something. But in general, you are not getting worse and someone is getting better. So it's very hard to say that change is something bad. So it's almost unanimous among economists. Pareto improvement is something good. This change is something that should happen because so many things in this world, if someone gets better, someone gets worse. But then in Pareto improvement, either everybody gets better or nobody gets worse and someone gets better, so that's good. Pareto optimal means state where Pareto improvement is impossible. Optimal means this is good. So this Pareto optimal state is a very good state. And the flip side of it is if there is a state where Pareto improvement is possible, that is not optimal. So in economics, almost everybody agree that we should move to the Pareto optimal state. So if there is Pareto improvement possible, we should do that change, whatever may happen. Okay? Look at this. Here, the single state for female and male is negative and negative 10. Yeah, there is a big problem here, but if you just compare negative 10, negative 10, and happily married male support the family 10 and 10. Both female improve from negative 10 to 10, male improve from negative 10 to 10, so this is Pareto improvement. So any economist will say, oh, if two people, negative 10, negative 10, move from there, change to 10, 10, the Pareto improvement, we should do this. But if you remember, because of the possibility that the male may run away and female can be extremely unhappy, the female is not going to go to the Pareto optimal because she's not going to get it anyway. Which is sad for female, also sad for male, and sad for economist. So if you are an economist, you really want to find a way to make this Pareto improvement can be happening. How can we achieve that? Once again, I mentioned marriage is better for both male and female in our example. Pareto improvement cannot be achieved because of the possibility that the male can run away. But there is a way. If we have a government which enforces the promise. What promise? I didn't mention, but let's assume this game, what usually happens is female is wandering between remaining single and getting married to this male. And male would, you have to promise that to female, I'll make you happy, I'll support you as long as I live, something like that. So male basically say, I will never run away, I will support the family all the time. So we are going to get 10 and 10. So male promised that. But the promise is such a fragile thing, the male may anytime break it up and run away. So, what can be done? The government involves, and they say when they get married, and male promised the female, okay, I'll support the family. The government say, okay, now I recognize that the male married the female, and I'll be watching, and if male run away, I'll catch the male and return him to the family, and somehow I'll force him to support the family financially. That is enforcement of promise or enforcement of contract. So, enforcing the promise. Efficiency requires enforcing a promise if the promiser and promisee both wanted enforceability when it was made. Wow, difficult. But promiser and promisee are the male and female. So, efficiency requires means Pareto optimality can be achieved. So in this game, Pareto optimality can be achieved means we can get the result of 10 and 10. How can we get there? If we look at the first game, not only the female want to move negative 10 to 10, male also would rather go to 10 instead of negative 10. Male knows that, oh, this is best for me, but if I do that, I would end up with negative 10. So male promise female, I'll never pursue 30. 10 would be good enough for me, so trust me. But then female would not believe. So before marriage, male and female would aiming for 10 and 10. Maybe male inside maybe 30, but at least at that moment, the male would be very anxious that he may end up negative 10. So he said, oh, 10 is much better than negative 10, so trust me. But female would not trust male, but female can trust the government who preside this marriage and force the male to support the family. Here, the male later changed his mind to go here. And male say, oh, I want to change the promise and run away. But the government says, now you may want to run away. But at the point of marriage, both you and female says, we want to get 10 and 10. And even though you change your mind, from government point of view, your original promise is important. That's what this means. When it was made. So the male mind might change after the promise was made, but then the government enforced the promise at the first state, not later. If government do that, the male give up the possibility of running away, so they can get married. The female do not trust male, but the female trust the government system so that the male cannot run away. If he runs away, government catches his husband and return him, and somehow the husband income would come to the female so that the family would be supported. So, contract law in a sense is just this. Enforce all the contracts between individuals that those individuals want the government to enforce at the time of signing them. Same thing. So by enforcing the promise, people can trust each other and they make living based on promise. Not anymore afraid of breaking the promise, the other part. So, actually, contract law should be enough with this. Whatever individual voluntarily make the promise, government recognize it, and if someone break it, enforce him to keep the original promise. So this one sentence should be enough for the contract law. But if you look at the contract law, the volume is enormous. Just the contract law on marriage, the law about marriage, is a thick book. Why is that so? We are going to talk about that a lot later in this class, but I'm going to introduce a small thing. The water tank accident that I really experienced. I became Yonsei University professor 20 years ago, and one day I came to school and my whole room was flooded and my computer is soaking wet. Why? The water tank of the building ruptured during the night and all the water from the water tank poured into my desk. So my valuable computer, which contains all these valuable research materials I made, is dead. Okay? I was panicked because, I have to publish paper, do the research to be promoted, but my computer is dead. So I said come on, it's not my fault if I do not write a paper this year. It's not my fault. It's because of the school made a mistake. The school didn't maintain the water tank well, so the water tank ruptured. So I want to say, I should get compensated something. If you think, when I got a job at Yonsei University, I signed something, a contract, labor contract. But did they mention about what Yonsei University would do to me when the water tank ruptured? No. They say, Yonsei University paid Professor Han this and this, and they work very hard together. That's it. They never mention about what water tank broke up and Professor Han's computer is soaking wet and broke. What if there is a fire and Professor Han's our books are burned? What should the university do? What should Professor Han do? They never talk about that. Which means when you have a job with a company, so many little things can happen. They may happen, probably may never happen. But if the contract is a perfect one, contract should mention every one of them. If this happens, you do that. If this happens, you do that. That is perfect contract. And we know so well the contract is never enough. We call that a gap, the missing part in the contract. When you get married and you have some disharmony with your wife and husband and you decide to get divorced, so when you get married, did you sign a contract that who will have the first baby, second baby, who will have the sofa, who will have the bed and things like that? Probably not. So your marriage contract is never complete if they never mention how they divide the asset in the case of divorce. But then I sincerely believe nobody would do that. I heard that the American President Trump, he always mentioned what to do at the point of marriage. What if there's a divorce? How much money I'll give you, prenuptial or something. So some rich people do that, but hardly no one talk about divorce. So the divorce part is usually missing in your marriage contract. And what contract law is about? The filling the gap. Okay, we are gonna do that later in this lecture about contract law. We'll continue.